General Mark Milley, remember, he is part of a bureaucracy that no one will ever get fired. Right? No one is going to lose their job for incompetence so long as they carry out the wishes of a Democratic president. So we have watched an extraordinarily botched operation in Afghanistan. General Mark Milley, it is kind of amazing that Mark Milley called up the Chinese to assure them that we wouldn't do anything that offended their tender sensibilities while Trump was president. Meanwhile, General Mark Milley and the entire Pentagon was working with the Biden administration to make nice with the Taliban. So that's really just wonderful. And apparently droning randos. So that's exciting as well. Rand Paul asked Secretary of State Tony Blinken yesterday about this because on the way out of Afghanistan, after the ISIS-K attack, which is like the special K of ISIS attack on American troops in Afghanistan while they were trying to evacuate folks, you'll recall that after that, on the way out, there was a drone attack by the American military. And according to the New York Times, we basically killed an Afghan translator and many members of his family, including children. Rand Paul asked Secretary of State Tony Blinken, do you have any idea who he droned? And Blinken's like, nope. So, question, is anyone getting fired for that? Like, what does it take to get fired in the Pentagon? And if you can't get fired, who's actually in control? That's the real question. Maybe when a Democratic president, the answer is the Democratic president is in control, but when a Republican president is president, then the bureaucracy is in control. Here is Senator Rand Paul with Tony Blinken.
The guy the Biden administration droned, was he an aid worker or an ISIS-K operative?
The administration is, of course, reviewing that strike, and I'm sure that a full assessment will be forthcoming.
So you don't know if it was an aid worker or an ISIS-K operative?
I can't speak to that, and I can't speak to that in this setting in any event.
So you don't know or won't tell us?
I don't know because we're reviewing it.
Well, see, you'd think you'd kind of know before you off somebody with a Predator drone.
Yes. I mean, sure. Like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of hard to argue with. Meanwhile, Tony Blinken keeps saying we didn't see this coming. So then why are you still working? Why are you still in office? And the answer is because if you are part of the Democratic blob, you can't lose your job for pretty much any reasons other than just kind of offending the president. But other than that, you're going to stay there forever, no matter how incompetent you are. And then when a Republican enters office, he's not going to fire any of these career staffers. He's just going to keep them there. Because if he doesn't keep them there, then who's going to fill those gaps? The answer is whoever is elected the next Republican president needs to clean house. And I mean mass firings. I mean everybody goes. I mean this place gets shut down top to bottom. Here is Secretary of State Antony Blinken. We had no idea. By the way, everybody knew who was watching this for 5 seconds this was going to happen if you did this the way you did it. You didn't take a genius to figure this out. I read a novel like 5 years ago in which the first chapter is this happening. It wasn't because I was watching Afghanistan closely. It's because it was patently obvious to anybody that if you withdraw all support for the Afghan military and hand the country back to the Taliban, bad crap was going to follow. Here's Tony Blinken being an idiot.
We, the intelligence community, did not say that the countrywide collapse of all meaningful resistance would be likely to occur in a matter of days. And you referenced Chairman Milley, as I did earlier. Nothing that he saw, that I saw, that we saw suggested that this government and security force would collapse in a matter of 11 days. And you're right that I think we need to look back at all of this.
Oh, you need to look back at all of this, but has anybody been fired? Will anybody be fired? Senator Josh Hawley is asking that question. Yesterday, he said that he's going to slow walk Joe Biden's foreign policy nominees until the top officials who oversaw all of this lose their jobs. He says he's going to object to confirming nominees for state and defense by unanimous consent unless Antony Blinken, Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, and NSA Jake Sullivan all resign. He says they should take responsibility for their failures. But here's the thing. None of them are going to resign because their failures are not their own. They're Joe Biden's failures. And if they'd happened under President Trump, they would have obstructing Trump's policy. And then Trump had fired them. There would have been a hue and cry that Trump was getting rid of career officials. See, when Democrats get rid of career officials or termed officials, it's no big deal. In fact, Joe Biden recently attempted to fire a bunch of Trump appointees to sort of nonpartisan boards in the very end of his administration. It included some folks like Kayleigh McEnany, but it also included some people like Lieutenant General, General McMaster. And Biden was like, I just don't like you, so I'm going to try and fire you, even though you actually have terms, right? These are not fireable positions. And nobody in the media seemed to care very much about that. Norms only exist when they can be used as a club against Republicans. All of this is going to break the country. It really is. By the way, our intelligence folks, are they going to get fired? Because apparently intelligence experts are now saying Al-Qaeda could reform inside Afghanistan. They originally said it could reform within 1 to 2 years. But apparently Al-Qaeda's already there, which we already knew. So well done, everybody. The reason that I keep coming back to this centralizing point about the administrative bureaucracy is because if the country breaks, it is going to be because there is no incentive structure for people to stay within the structure. You have to give people something if you want them to remain inside a structure that takes 40% of their money, 30% of their money, and restricts every area of their life. There has to be some guarantee on the other end. And the guarantee on the other end cannot simply be that people you disagree with are going to govern every aspect of your life. It is why people are seeing movement to red states as an escape. They are seeing it as a way of avoiding blue state governance. They're moving for a reason. The sorting is happening. And if the response by the Democrats and their friends in the bureaucracy is to tighten their grip, to harden their defenses, to become more sclerotic, to become less responsive, to cut off all the feedback loops, you're going to break the thing. You are. And that is the direction that we are moving right now on everything from defense to Afghanistan to COVID. Right? The attempts to grip everything incredibly tightly are going to lead to Tommy Lasorda once said that coaching a baseball team was sort of like holding a dove. You want to hold it tight enough that the dove doesn't escape, but you don't want to hold it so tight that you crush the dove. Okay, you could say the federal government is sort of the same thing. That the goal of the federal government should be to be strong enough to maintain the union, but not strong enough to actually destroy the union. And it seems as though we are moving very rapidly in the direction of strong enough to destroy the union. And they'd rather crush the dove than allow the dove to breathe a little bit. And the predictable result of that is not going to, the tighter you grip, the more things are going to break. You're not creating stability, you're actually creating radical instability in this entire process. And that radical instability is going to lead to a lot of very bad things. It's not going to lead to an amicable breakup. Like, it's not going to be an amicable divorce. The high likelihood is that things get uglier as time goes on. Because in a desire for top-down dominance, you are alienating everybody, and when they have no place left to go because you are using the federal government as the crammed-down power, through the power of an unelected administrative bureaucracy, the only check apparently being the Supreme Court. I mean, really, we now have two branches of the American government, the administrative state and the Supreme Court, and that's it. And if the Democrats simply pack the Supreme Court, that check goes away too, then I will say that the end of the American Republican experiment would then be at an end. We're in a battle for the culture and for our values. Like and subscribe to help keep our videos on the front line of the fight and top of your feed.